Welcome, this is Drug Testing Students in Public Schools, Thoughts, Opinions, and the Law. This presentation was created to provide unbiased information about drug testing in public schools to students, parents, teachers, and administrators. Hopefully this will help readers of all background knowledge become educated about the laws pertaining to drug testing of students. Within this presentation, you will increase your knowledge of laws pertaining to drug testing of students in the public education settings. I will provide an example of a public school district's drug-free policy. I will also provide qualitative and quantitative information about support of or against drug testing students, and provide informational videos that provide public opinions of drug testing, both for and against. The following are guidelines that are presented in Chapter 5 of A Teacher's Pocket Guide to School Law, written by Nathan Essex. Specifically, I'm going to discuss the law as it pertains to public school drug testing students. Guideline 1. District-wide drug education and alcohol abuse programs should teach harmful effects of drugs and alcohol on adolescent bodies. First and foremost, to educate the students of the harmful effects if they do choose to use. Second guideline. School and district policies should be developed and clear about the use of drugs or alcohol and the consequences if students are found guilty of violating these policies. We will review a policy of an actual school district later in this presentation. Number 3, if accused of drug use, the student has the right to a full due process procedure to provide a fair opportunity for the student to present their side. Number 4, teachers, parents, student athletes, health professionals, and community citizens should help to create the policies regarding drug testing programs that are reasonable. Number 5, if students are found guilty of drug use, support should be provided to help the students through the upcoming tough times. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the district absolutely has to fund their program that they enter into, but they do have to provide resources for the students. Finally, number 6, open relationships should be established with parents in cases where students are suspected to be involved in drug use. When President Bush signed the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, he included Title IV, Part A, which is Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Communities. This act provides direct support for programs that prevent the illegal use of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs in public education settings. Specifically, this provides funding to public education schools that have programs to prevent violence in and around the schools, prevent the illegal use of tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. It includes parents and community members, and the program is coordinated with federal, state, school, and community efforts that are already in place to support academic achievement. At the bottom is the direct link to the No Child Left Behind Title IV Part A Act, if you so choose to go look at that. This will be a policy from the district that I teach in, USD 443 Dodge City Public Schools. I'll let you read through it on your own, but I'm going to highlight a few things about it. The district says maintaining drug-free schools is important in establishing an appropriate learning environment for the district students. The unlawful possession, use, sale, or distribution of illicit drugs and alcohol by students on school premises or as a part of any community activity is prohibited. It goes on to explain student conduct if they are found violating any of these policies, the short-term, long-term suspension and expulsion that could happen. It does state specifically that drug and alcohol counseling and rehab programs are available, and resources will be given by the board clerk, but that the school is not going to take over the cost of the program. Now we will get into both sides of the argument for and against drug testing public school students. From the Office of National Drug Control Policy, they said drug testing in schools has been extremely effective at reducing drug use and, most importantly, deterring drug use among adolescents. A study of a school in Alabama saw a 9% drop in alcohol use, a 7% drop in marijuana use, and a decrease in tobacco use of 9%. At another school in New Jersey, random drug testing of students saw a drop in cocaine use from 12% to 4%. A study by Crow and Sydney in 2000 said that adolescent drug testing programs have the potential to save money in the long run. The authors of this study believe that if youth are better able to enter recovery and maintain abstinence through treatment, they're less likely to cycle through the system multiple times. Identifying youth that need treatment and obtaining it for them may save money versus misused correctional programs. Other arguments for drug testing students is that it prevents drug use in the long run. It's the school's duty of care, meaning they need to provide support to those who test positive and give them medical and psychological help if they need. That there is no harm being done to non-drug users because they're obviously not using, and so it's not really hurting them. Positive tests are not recorded in the student's permanent record, so all these results are completely confidential in regards to the student's records. They don't go on transcripts that colleges will see, and it does not go on a criminal record. And the final one is that people push it for prevention, not punishment. The chart on the side is not very clear, but it asks the question, would you favor or oppose requiring high school students to take drug tests if their parents consented to the tests and the test results could only be used to provide treatment for students using drugs? The red responded with, I don't know, which is 6%. The blue area was opposed to it, 23%. And the tan area was in favor of it at 71%, so pretty overwhelming were in support of it. This image was published by Fox News in July of 2001. This map is just a visual that depicts the sites of schools that have already chosen to start drug testing their students. It's not extremely recent, it was in 2007, but it kind of gives you an idea of how many schools are already participating. Here are some YouTube videos that are obviously not academically proven, but they are pretty good insight into the opinion of all sorts of people. We are going to watch one video.
Have a problem. So that schools that say, well, we've got too much drug use in our schools, we've got to start testing these kids.
Doctor, what kind of drugs? Are you talking about steroids as well? Because that's a huge problem in a lot of schools.
Steroids, marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine, opioids, you name it. Anything that kids use, we've got to prevent them from using it.
Here's the problem, though. It's very expensive. Shouldn't that money go to books? Shouldn't that go to building better schools?
It's very cheap compared to treatment of drug addiction. It's very cheap compared to the pain of parents when their kids die of an overdose.
So here's what critics will say. They'll say it's the school's responsibility to educate students, not to police them.
Well, when a kid uses drugs, it influences their performance in schools dramatically. They get much lower grades in schools, much higher absenteeism rates. They don't do their homework, and they can engage in violence and delinquency at school as well as outside.
How many schools are you basing that study on?
Pardon?
How many schools are you basing that study on?
That study has been repeated over and over again using a number of different surveys, including national surveys.
Right. Doctor, what about the fact that you do these drug tests, suddenly some kids are going to be identified as drug users? Those are the stoners, those kids over there.
Well, the tests are absolutely 100% confidential. They're only to be shared with the parents and with somebody who can help them. They are not going into their school records. They're not going to call history to employees. The records are 100% confidential.
Okay, now to the argument against drug testing. First, it's extremely expensive. The school district has to use taxpayers' money to pay the company to come in, take the tests, and the lab fee to get them processed. Some state that it violates the Fourth Amendment's right to privacy. It was found in a study that it doesn't uphold standards for administrative searches, and rules of search and seizure in public schools are not clear and consistent. Third, it harms student-teacher relationship because students might feel as if the administration and teachers are out to get them, so it can create feelings of suspicion among students. And finally, there is quite a bit of lack of anecdotal evidence pointing to huge major changes. This is probably the biggest and data-backed argument against testing. Studies haven't shown huge improvements of numbers of students using illegal substances from the before to the after. These are just some Google images that kind of were funny and talked about how they were kind of against it.
So in a case destined to make national headlines, the Pennsylvania American Civil Liberties Union has filed a lawsuit on behalf of a local family in the Solanco School District because the girl had not consented to random drug testing, and as a result, she's not being allowed to participate in the extracurricular activities. From our story, it said that, quote, the suit attempts to stop the school district from requiring students who participate in extracurricular activities, including athletics and academic competitions, to submit to suspicionless random drug testing. The dad says his daughter has been banned from chorus and athletics, and even though she's a top math student, the 11-year-old's invitation to join the school's math counts academic competition was withdrawn. All because the dad says he doesn't think the girl should be treated like a criminal, assumed guilty until. This is actually the third such lawsuit filed by the ACLU in Pennsylvania over the past 13 months, and the ACLU spokesman said they've gotten 2 injunctions to stop similar policies in other districts. And here, beat goes on. At least 6 districts here in Lancaster County have do random drug testing. I have a son who's in one of those districts, and the argument is always that the schools are trying to keep kids safe and deter students from using drugs. And a lot of parents say, hey, that's a good goal. What's the big deal? But I have several problems with random school drug testing. In any school district, some of your worst drug offenders aren't going to be involved in activities in the first place. So by the very nature of these policies and the way they're administered, you're unlikely to catch the worst offenders. You're far more likely to catch a kid who went to a party and did something stupid, but who's involved in sports and activities and other things that make him a better person and a better student. And those are the students we're ultimately going to penalize with these types of random drug testing policies. My second problem with these policies is the cost. It costs money to have a kid pee in a cup at random and send the samples to be analyzed. I found a story from back in 1999 when the Solanco School District started its random school drug testing program. It said it cost about $30 per student per test, or about $30,000 a year. I think we can safely assume that cost has skyrocketed. But districts here and everywhere are getting crushed financially. Our wonderful governor has slashed education funding. Can schools really afford to go sniffing around at random for some high-achieving student who might have smoked a joint? Is this a viable, cost-effective use of your tax dollars?
So that was an opinionated view against using drug testing in high schools. Finally, we're going to review the objectives. Hopefully, after watching and listening to this presentation, you have learned quite a bit about drug testing. We read the summary of Chapter 5, Teacher's Pocket Guide to School Law, explaining the guidelines of drug testing students. We viewed USD 443's drug-free policy and learned about the No Child Left Behind Title IV guidelines. You learned unbiased information from me about both sides of the drug testing debate, both qualitative and quantitative analyses. And finally, you watched 2 videos of opinions supporting and against drug testing. I hope you have enjoyed it and that you have learned both sides and the law of drug testing in schools. Thanks for tuning in.